The work happening at the Lilly site continues at an extremely fast pace. As we begin 2025, approaching the second year of the project, we check in with Todd Dando and Jeff Wagner from Fluor Corporation. Find out how the team dealt with the extreme cold and how many more employees are expected on site by the end of the year. Get an update on the company's community service projects too. Episode 201 of the Love in Lebanon podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Love in Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to loveinlebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 201 of the Love in Lebanon podcast. I'm Joe LePage, the City of Lebanon Communications and Community Development Director. Boy, it's hard to believe, but in the spring of 25, so a little bit later on in this year, 2 years of the project that's been going on the north side of our community. Fluor is building for Eli Lilly and the whole LEAP project and all those things. My, how time flies. A couple guys to talk about it. You've heard them on the podcast before. They're back again. Todd Dando and Jeff Wagner from Fluor Corporation here on this episode of the podcast. Guys, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Joe, and congratulations on 200 podcasts. That's impressive.
I'm still waiting for the cake and the fancy hats and all that stuff. But, one day maybe. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a lot of fun, and we enjoy bringing all this information via podcast form. And so a lot of times we'll see things on social media, and some facts aren't necessarily facts, since we've had a chance to educate you members of the public and you listeners. And so you're hearing it right from the people involved. And so whether it was the mayor and the folks from Citizens and the 200th episode, or the folks from Fluor here on 201, you're getting it firsthand, boom, right here. And so we appreciate you listening to this podcast and being part of this conversation. So appreciate you being along for this. Guys, if you don't mind, we look to the skies and we look to the north side of our community. So many moving parts. And Todd, when you're here, you usually throw out a percentage of what percentage complete the project is. But there's so much moving and shaking over at the project, and you guys have been juggling so well. If you don't mind giving a status update of how things stand right now.
Yeah, sure, Joe. So there is a lot of activity going on at site. We're very proud of the progress that we've made over the last, like you said, almost 2 years. It's been hard-earned progress, but we're positioned well. Truthfully, through the winter, we had some setbacks. Certainly, weather was a factor, and some others. We're about a month to 2 months behind where we want to be, and Lilly is challenging us, and we're challenging our partners to make that up, and that'll be a big theme of 2025. On the golf course, they say drive for show and putt for dough. Well, 2025 will be the year that makes the project, and we're optimistic. We've got great partners, and we're ready to get to work. We're currently just under 10%. We're probably somewhere around the 8% complete on construction, and the design for the project is over 50% now, nearing 60%. So we're making good progress and chugging along.
And it was a couple weeks ago from the recording of this podcast, Jeff, that you hosted me out there to take some pictures and check some things out, and it was cold. Yeah. There's an old saying that when it was cold, we were cold. Going around and seeing all the work still done. How do you manage a job site when the temperature, the mercury, Pat, in the old days, when it's right around zero and certainly below freezing, and the feeling quite a bit colder? How do you guys do that, Todd, to be able to kind of keep that site and keep things moving, but keeping people safe all at the same time?
Yeah, that's front of mind. There are some temperatures that it's just too cold, and typically it's around 10 degrees. Depending on the trade and what work they're doing. Luckily, we are dried in, or we're weather tight in our Cub building, so that gives us a little bit of a work front outside of the outdoor conditions. But I think to answer your question, Joe, contractor care is so important, and we spent a lot of time setting up the site knowing that. So an example is our canteens. We have 6 800-person canteens that we force breaks. We make sure people are getting out of the cold and kind of staying healthy, and that's very important in the winter. We certainly remind everybody as well as dehydration, right? It's often that people don't take care of themselves, so reminders like that. Another great thing we did in this recent cold snap was we offered some free warm beverages and warm soup. We were able to use a local provider here and provided close to 1,000 people with warm soups and beverages.
And Jeff, from a community relations and communications kind of standpoint, how do you keep the morale up when you were giving the tour? Just like Todd was just saying, looking forward to people getting those workers inside to be able to stay warm and things like that. What is done to typically kind of raise the level or keep the level of that morale up? Todd was talking about the heated canteens and being able to kind of get inside and get warm and warm liquids as well. What's it like to keep everybody's kind of
I know one thing that we do, especially with safety, because we're always trying to get worker involvement, but that's key. And we've initiated a one-site program. And while we've always recognized excellent work by our crews, by those who go above and beyond, we really kind of help formalize that coming into 2025 here. So we do have I think a really innovative rewards and recognition program, trying to give those workers too some things that they really want to earn, and we'll use that as motivators to get their colleagues and all involved too. So we just did our safety breakfast, and typically we do the recognition on the third Monday of the month. But because of the cold temperatures Todd mentioned, and last week we had a couple days where we didn't work, we moved that into Monday, and really got good feedback from the heated jackets by Milwaukee were very popular, as you can imagine.
Jackets, I can imagine. Yeah.
But trying to do things like that too to get engagement. But I think overall there's just a high morale across the site, and thankfully I don't think we have to do a whole lot in some of those areas. But it is a motivated group.
And even with the cold temperatures and everything that went along those lines that may have tried to slow progress and may have a little bit, it sounds like things are still rolling forward. When we took the tour, I think there were 950 or so employees on site. It looks like that number has gone up and will continue to go up. Other wins that have taken place during the end of 24 and the beginning of 25 you guys have seen so far?
Yeah, a big milestone, Joe, that you mentioned there was hitting 1,000 people. A lot of work goes into
1,000 employees all on site. That's still mind-boggling.
Yeah, and we're really still at the beginning of our climb. We're still, like I said, we're a little bit behind our where we want to be. We were thinking we would peak out on this first phase of the project in the summer time frame. And we're still pushing for that, but it may be later summer, early fall when we hit significant masses where we'll go from 1,000 to well over 3,000. So over the next several months, we'll see a steady climb on site.
Yeah, and you've seen from just a construction standpoint too, one of our main facilities they topped out in about a week ago, so that was excellent to see. The building closest to County Road 375 as you go by the site. I think we had the first elevated deck pour on Saturday or Sunday at another one of our buildings. So that has progressed. We got Gate C open, which is our southern gate. That had been closed for a while they did all the roadway improvements to our south. So that all has been reconfigured, and that gives our workers an additional access point to come in and out of the site. So it seems like there's something different going on every day. I know when I talk to the Central Utilities building folks, the CUB folks, they're getting ready for, I think they've done a lot of slab on grade, a lot of base level, first level piping and all work, and are getting ready to put the pads, complete the pads in there and begin putting equipment in pretty soon. So they're excited about that.
And you guys have seen this before, so it's nothing new to you. But for someone like me, seeing the conceptual designs and kind of seeing the models at the 4-H Fairgrounds when it was laid out on the floor, we could kind of walk around and kind of vision cast about what it would look like. It's got to be so just fulfilling to be able to see these things actually not only going vertical, but then with everything kind of, even though it is kind of organized chaos at times, I'm sure, at least to us that don't do it at a professional level like you guys do, but being able to kind of see these things coming to fruition and being able to kind of play out as they were planned several years back.
Yeah, Joe, you nailed it. That's the number one reason I'm in construction, and I know many people are. When I was a high school student, for those people listening there in high school, Purdue was an easy choice for me when I found that they had the construction management program. I knew right away that's what I wanted to do. And a lot of it was that visualization that you can take something and put it on paper, put it into a CAD machine and then plan it is all great and a lot of fun. But to actually see it come out of the ground and the blood and sweat, everything that goes into making that facility is special, and it's very visual rewarding. So it's great.
And you mentioned all the things that go into it. It feels like that's almost like it's a part of you. It's like you're not one of your kids, of course, but something along those lines where you've got some real tangible kind of heartstrings on these projects. Am I picking up what that is for you guys? Is this kind of a labor of love and kind of having that kind of ownership with it?
Well, I can't imagine all the responsibilities Todd has, because he's got to eat, sleep, drink the project. I mean, in his role, there's just so many moving parts, like you said, so much going on, and just the coordination effort and just the issues that you don't even think of that are just part of the day in, day out, whether it be, designs or a multitude of things. But
Yeah, I think, Joe, having a great team is what it's all about. And with that, you do get passionate, right? There's some difficult conversations that we have that get passionate. There's some celebrations that we have that we like to get passionate. And then what's also special, and we talk about a lot here with you, is the community, right? What a great community, how welcoming Lebanon's been to us. When we do put the finishing bow and the last system that we turn over, it seems like a long way away, but it's going to come. It will be hard for many of our employees to leave the area. We'll talk about our announcement that we made that hopefully a lot of us will stay in the area, but you become connected not only to the project, but the community as well.
Yeah, and speaking of that community, in past podcast episodes, we've had you guys on, and we haven't shied away, everybody, and we're talking with Todd and Jeff here on the episode 201 of the Love and Lebanon podcast. You've no doubt heard, some different issues that have arose during this process, whether they be traffic control or just some of the construction things that go on, the dust on dry days, that type of thing. And you guys have worked to mitigate a lot of those things. The latest thing, it seems like, is coming up in April, where a lot of those folks that have had issues over the past months or when the things were first getting rolling out of the LEAP project, you guys are welcoming them on site and feeding them and developing some kind of relationship. You guys have always wanted to have that kind of feedback. This is kind of next level stuff.
Yeah, we've tried to keep a close relationship with our fence line neighbors, especially knowing they're the most directly impacted. They're the ones that are going to see all the vehicles, all the construction trucks, the deliveries coming in. So last fall we held kind of a fence line neighbors barbecue and invited them out to one of their properties that are just on the north side of the site. Had a local food provider bring some of the side dishes and all. We cooked up hot dogs and brats and all, and had Todd and had our Lily construction leads and some of our other community outreach folks, and probably about a dozen of us, and the neighbors came out. We did that over 2 different days because we wanted to make sure that we could, give some options and reach everybody. But it was a great chance to answer questions, sit down, talk to them. We offered kind of one-on-one tours, too, if they wanted to hop in one of our pickup trucks and ride around with, like, the head of safety or like with Todd, just to see the site up close. So that's really gone a long way to clearing up some questions they might have. But I think we've enjoyed a pretty good relationship with our neighbors, and they know to call me if there's something happens where they need it addressed or they have a question. But I think it's just trying to take that next step too with them and make sure that they keep those lines of communication open.
And I'm guessing that's a relationship you guys are looking to continue to foster with the ramp up that's going to happen later on this year that's forecasted, and currently 6 buildings that are on the campus now, and the pace of which they're all going. I'm guessing that same communication continues with those fence line neighbors, as you said?
Yeah, absolutely. And we, of course, want to leave Lily in the best position, not only during construction, but leading up through when it gets handed over, like Todd said. We want to make sure that we set a good standard and one that they can easily segue then into operations.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Todd, you talked about earlier in this pod about how things are going to be ramping up to kind of make up for some lost time thanks to Mother Nature. She's still undefeated. What does that look like from bringing all the other extra employees, now at over 1,000 on site? But what does that look like to be able to bring so many more bodies on site to be able to do some of the work to kind of either get caught up or to make more of a dent in where you like to be as far as percentages complete?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. How are we going to make that time up? How are we going to deliver it? But we've got a very talented team. There's a lot of people working hard, but the real key is to get to the buildings to dry in. As Jeff said, we've topped out. So to date, we've been mostly moving dirt, concrete, and steel. And we're quickly shifting over to more mechanical, electrical, piping trades. And that's what will make us or break us in 2025. Can we get those buildings dried in? Can we get all the equipment that we've pre-bought and planning and storing? Can we get it on site? And then ultimately, can we get enough craft out there and orchestrate the installation? Right. That's what keeps us up at night, and it's what keep us driving out there.
And one thing I see as a good reference to Todd hosts a trade partners meeting each month, and I think when it started off, there were maybe 15, 20 partners that were there. We used part of the orientation classroom. The last one was fully opened. I mean, literally the table went from one end of the conference room to the other. I mean, the numbers have just risen dramatically. So you have that many more trade partners, that many more companies that are now doing work and bringing on people to execute their scope.
Some more hands on deck and being able to get everybody on the same team and on speaking the same language and going towards the same vision, goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's when you step back and think about it, look at it and what we have accomplished, but what we have to do, people should know, people are talking about Lebanon. Right, guaranteed. They're talking about them in California. They're talking about them in North Carolina. As other work is popping up, Lebanon is on the map. Right, this project is driving industry. It's the largest investment in biotech that we know of. Right, so it's significant not only in the state of Indiana, not only in the United States but beyond. People are talking about Lebanon, which is pretty special.
And no doubt a headline grabber for sure. Putting Lebanon, Indiana, continue to put us on the map, and we appreciate that so much. Everybody, we're talking with Todd and Jeff here on episode 201 of the Love and Lebanon podcast, talking about Fluor Corporation, Eli Lilly, the LEAP project, all things in between. Now, if we're speaking about headlines, and I'm looking at my own version of the January 2025 newsletter that deals with the Fluor project, a lot of headlines are being made, happy faces in these pictures about how Fluor is involved in the community. If you guys can kind of talk about that. We got the Gravy Chase and saw a lot of Fluor and Lilly folks there. There was a toy drive that was held at the end of the year, the Christmas season. Yeah. There's Santa in a big picture. You can see it on the city's website, everybody.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun again this year with the Hope Community Church, right? They're our neighbors to the south. Terrific group, and the program they have is just amazing. Paige and Mrs. Brown, and of course Pastor Trafford. I mean, they really have been welcoming to us. And we said, "Hey, we'd like to join you last year," and they were great, and we did. And we did pretty well for the number of workers we had. But this year, I think we really surprised them. We came out there. We had 3 pickup trucks full of toys. We had a trailer we were pulling in addition to that with full of bikes. So about 1,000 presents altogether we were able to drop off in early December to them. And then with financial donations, thanks to our employees, obviously Lilly workers and our trade partners, dropped off an additional $15,000 that they could purchase even more gifts. So it was really fun for us, and we told them expect even more next year. So,
and I'm guessing they were appreciative of that. Maybe a shot in the arm to their previous years.
Incredibly, and what they let us do, we said, "Hey, we've got some people that would love to come out, help you with whether it be sorting, organizing, come out for distribution," and they came out on Saturday and did that, and just had a great time. They were directing traffic, handing out, getting toys to the vehicles. So just really enjoyed taking that next step with the church.
And how important is that for not only you two, but also the corporation wide? There are goals to be met when you're completing a construction project, but how important is it? And it sounds like these aren't mandated, the gift giving from the employees and things along those lines. It doesn't sound like it's you must give a portion of your paycheck towards this. It sounds like this is kind of ingrained in the employees' kind of minds to be able to give back to the community in which they're building these projects. Do I have this?
It's really correct? Part of Fluor's culture. If you're at a project, you look to get involved. If you're at one of our major offices, Greenville. I mean, Todd was involved with Golf for Greenville. They've raised millions of dollars over the years for that charitable organizations in South Carolina. So it's easy in my role to get people involved because they want to get involved. They come to me and say, what can I do? But yeah, a lot of it is employee driven. And of course we do it in unison with our colleagues with Lilly, and they jump in feet first like we do.
Yeah, I wanted to emphasize too that, yeah, Fluor plays a key in it. Lilly plays a key in it too. But I think there's a lot of stereotypes about a typical construction worker. And
there certainly are.
Some of them are valid and some of them I don't think are valid. But one thing that is definite is they're caring people. And if we offer a program, if we just put a spark out there, it takes off, right? Many of those donations, many of those, what made it a success were from craft workers, people on their tools that really took it to heart. So it's fun to see.
In fact, I asked one of the our team members that's in our supply chain group, asked her to lead the campaign this year because she just is passionate about getting involved in the community. And Ashley Harrington did a terrific job getting workers from all the different, we'll call them nodes, but parts of the project or across the site. We got basically the quality assurance folks, the supply chain, every group that was out there. She had a representative that was involved and led their campaign in their group.
And let's be honest, we've all been kind of voluntold to do things. We're not saying you have to, but the arm gets to be twisted just a little bit. You're telling me that that's not the case. Todd, you're not telling someone that they need to quote-unquote volunteer, being voluntold to go do that. This is all just, as you mentioned, Jeff, employee-led?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I do get financial support, though, from corporations. So I will say that. Todd and Tom Hendricks have given us a good budget to work with, and that gives us a chance to do some things like the Community Foundation of Boone County or opportunities for other sponsorships, whether it be we're doing things like with Engineers Week with the schools and Engineer Week programs there, and Construction Week. We're doing things like that. But there have been some really awesome opportunities that we've been able to use that money for. But certainly the employees have really, whether it be backpacks, whether it be blood drive, which we had the week before, or gift programs. I mean, they really helped stood up food drives too, so it's been great.
Yeah, and so we've been we're on kind of the community theme as we kind of get towards the end of the podcast episode. But it seems like the rooted in community kind of aspect has been just super important for Fluor and being able to work with local restaurants. We talked about a couple of the providers, not only for signage here along Lebanon, the 39, but also downtown, Steve, and Crossroads Imprints, and being able to work with local vendors. I'm guessing that's just as important as well to keep those local businesses, restaurants providing food out to your location, as well as when you need those items. It's looking local here in Lebanon, not regional, but really here local.
Absolutely. And we're always looking for more. So if you have a small business or there's something that you think you may be able to provide, look us up. We'd love to give you an opportunity. No guarantees, but chances are, we have the needs. So love to look here first in Lebanon first.
And really, and in being in the area as well, it sounds like there could be some deeper roots being set by Fluor in our part of the state and in our part of the country as well. A physical location for the Fluor offices are indie bound if they're not already down in the Bottle Works area. Everybody, chances are you've been down there playing a little duck pin bowling or going down to have a good time. Down in that area is where the office will be located or is now located.
Yeah, we've recently announced we're going to open a satellite office there. So many of the talented people that we've hired here will have an opportunity to stay on with Fluor locally. It's not only good news for the area, but it just speaks to Indiana in general, how much business is here, and Fluor is compelled to invest in an office. We're excited about what the future has for sure.
And so that some of that talent, if they want to stay local, they can stay local and be right here and work for the same company and do that.
Yep, absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, I've been going through and referencing everybody, truth be told, a lot of the newsletter info. So I got this, took a look through it and formulated some questions and also shared it on the city's website as well. And you can do the same. You can go and you can see the different things we've been chatting about. You can go report an issue if you have one, and you can go right there to be able to kind of stay informed as well. Guys, leave it with this. What are you hoping that the people get from these podcasts and when they see a Fluor shirt out in the community, things like that? What are you hoping they see, or what do you want them to know? Not apart from this podcast episode, but just in general as part of this project.
Well, I hope they see us as a part of the community, and folks that want to get involved, that are good to work with, transparent, good neighbors. We're just trying to really do that for our part. And we know a lot of times construction and growth can be a challenge and difficult, and there's dust, there's additional traffic, there are things like that. But just know we're working to mitigate it as much as possible and to get involved where we have opportunity, and hopefully make some friends along the way with our community members like we have. So.
I hope your community sees too that we care. We're not perfect by any means. We'll never claim that we are perfect, but we think we have some pretty good plans. We think we execute those plans pretty well, but we're always approachable. We always, if you want to better understand, we do care. We understand we're visitors here. This will be a community long after we're gone, and we want to make sure that we have a positive impact on it. So again, we care, and we're definitely approachable. If we can do something in a different manner, we'll certainly consider it.
Very well said, both of you. And I appreciate you sitting on the podcast and giving us some insight and kind of behind the curtain as how things play out. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for good weather, dry weather, as so many more employees are coming on site. Todd, Jeff, thank you so much for being here on this episode of the podcast.
Thank you, Joe. Yep.
And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode 201. More episodes are coming your way soon. Take care.